We are recording, by the way, yeah, but feel free to waste the footage. If this was, like 30 years ago, they would have changed the tape. Like they would physically changed the tape inside the camera, and you'd get yelled at for wasting. Tanmay, what are you doing? Tanmay is watching a video of himself. At least that's what he's doing before we start recording.
Oh,
So
are we
embarrassing.
recording?
Yes.
Yes.
Who's starting? Tanmay,
The
start.
guy who always says hello, hello, hello.
Yeah, let's go.
All right.
Hello. Welcome to another video. It is time for another story time with Cash. Today we have Cash Danda and annoying person to the max, Beanie Bitch, Akshay Beanie, who will henceforth be referred to as Beanie Bitch.
I told you not to
Wow,
wear that
that
hat,
was
dude.
so loud. Somebody sent this to me, and there's a logo at the back. So that's why I turned it around.
How you wore the beanie is not questionable. The act of wearing the beanie itself is like, why?
What is the problem? It's just I like to switch up the headgear.
I miss hat.
This
guy.
is a boring show. This is a show that are you guys? What's the problem, guys? I keep the show entertaining and spicy. Is there a problem with that?
Fine.
With that, the usual disclaimer: Wormhole does not have a token, but even if they do at some point, this is not an endorsement to buy, trade, or sell these tokens. This is not about tokens. This is about using your engineering talents to go and build something using the Wormhole protocol. And we in no way endorse buying, selling, trading, speculating with your capital.
And we in no way endorse wearing a beanie as well. That in general is also a problem.
If it annoys Tanmay, I am into it.
All right. So there's this big pile of money in this new grant program that is there to help solve this kind of fundamental problem that all of crypto has, that crypto as an industry actually has. And that problem is that there are too many blockchains, and there are many more to come still, right? This little graphic, you can see some of them. There's a bunch that aren't even represented here. Why is that a problem? Each blockchain is fully independent. And the way to think about it is each blockchain is like an island unto itself that cannot be connected to anyone else. This is a fundamental property of blockchains. This is what makes them kind of secure and reliable, is that they have no external dependencies. And that's great on some dimensions, but it also comes at a price. The first price is that if you're a user, this just kind of sucks, right? In the same way that if you were just a person stuck on a single island and couldn't go anywhere else, you'd get bored pretty quickly, right? In the blockchain context, assets, your identity, your history, everything that you're doing is kind of constrained to one chain. And you have to learn new tools and new processes to try and use other chains. And it's just a bad user experience, right? And even worse, for builders, the people who are watching this video right now, right? As a builder, one of the hardest questions you'll have to answer is which chain do you build on? Because right now, you're kind of capped by the ceiling of that chain, by the number of users on that chain, by the amount of liquidity on that chain, by the other dApps that are on that chain. And as a result, you end up kind of like these sad construction workers on this island. There's only so much that you can build. The good news is that there is a solution that already kind of exists, and that is what they call bridges, which for once is like a well-named thing in crypto. It kind of does what it says. These bridges connect these existing networks, right? They're like bridges between the islands that allow people and assets and whatever else to move across. The way that these work is pretty simple. I'll just take like 30 seconds to explain it. They mostly use this lock and mint mechanism. This is how it kind of works on the back end. Let's imagine that you have some USDT, some Tether on Ethereum, and you want to bridge it over to Solana so that you can play some fun games or do some fun DeFi stuff, right? What the bridge does is it takes your USDT first, then it kind of locks it up in a smart contract such that no one can touch it, take it, or move it. And then on the Solana side of the bridge, it mints an IOU token, right? That IOU token is technically called a wrapped token. And that represents a claim on this USDT that exists over on Ethereum world. So you have this wrapped token that you can then swap on Solana for native USDT. You can swap it for Sol itself. You can do whatever else you might want to do with it. It sounds a little complicated, these wrapped token dynamics, but it mostly works, right? As recently as March here in the bear market, there's still more than $11 billion of value locked up in these bridges. So it mostly works, but there are a bunch of problems.
By the way, this GIF that's being used, Akshay, that is a response to your beanie.
There's actually a GIF of a guy getting a proctology exam, but you can't see the proctology part on here.
Imagine he's getting a proctology exam, and in that moment, he's like, that beanie.
Yeah, rather get this than have that beanie on.
I will have you know that beanie culture conveys laid back anti-consumerism that defines this generation, rain or shine. Just wanted to know this.
And as someone from 3 generations ago, Akshay, you should not be trying so hard to connect with the current generation. Is all I'm going to say. Let's continue.
Yes, maybe I should play PUBG with minors on the internet and start a YouTube channel.
These bridges, they exist, they kind of work, but they have a bunch of these problems, right? Let's go through these problems one by one real fast. The first one is that most of them are either straight up centralized or they are semi-centralized. And centralization is generally not something that we're a fan of in crypto, particularly with such a critical function, right? If you're moving assets between these islands, it's really important that you're decentralized, because when the shit hits the fan, the people who are centralized are going to look out for themselves before they look out for anyone else. The second problem is that these bridges are constantly attacked by hackers. This is the Rekt leaderboard, which is a very fun site, rekt.news, people should check out. It has the biggest hacks that have ever happened in crypto. 5 of the top 10 are to do with bridges. And the reason for that is obvious, right? These bridges, because of this lock and mint mechanism, they have a lot of assets locked up, right? That is like just a very attractive bank vault that any bank robber is going to want to come and take a swipe at. So you can see these are like more than $500 million hacks have happened here. Giant hacks.
Well, because they recovered the wormhole one, I guess the total hacks is minus 100 million, because I think they made a profit or something, right?
That is true, yeah. The wormhole hack story, we should do a whole video on someday.
Give me a TLDR.
The TLDR is that one morning, Wormhole got hacked for 320 million. There was an exploit that was in their mint side of the contract. So not in the lock, but in the mint. It would allow them to mint 300 million plus worth of ETH and other things. Within 3 hours, Jump and Cunnov, who's a friend of the show, made the decision to front up all the money and pay the entire 320 million out of pocket, such that no one would lose a penny. And then, like 6 months later, through a bunch of different wrangling, they were actually able to not only seize back all of their assets, but also even more assets from the hacker. So they ended up making a profit on this hack by taking the hacker's other assets with it.
So the hacker was a fixed deposit, actually. If you think about it, you got interest on that. Interesting. The hacker was more trustworthy than Silicon Valley Bank. How the hell did this happen?
These bridges, they're constantly getting hit by hacks, right? That is a problem. The third problem is that you want to transfer these assets, right? All these bridges can do this lock and mint mechanism with an asset like USDT, these single tokens. And that's fine, but it's kind of basic, right? It's not really going to unlock all the full value that crypto can actually unlock. And then finally, building on top of these bridges, actually using them is pretty hard. And it's very lonely. Not a lot of people are building on top of these bridges right now. The good news is, even though all these bridges have these like very real problems, Wormhole does not. And Wormhole actually solves a bunch of these problems. What is Wormhole? Wormhole is actually more than just a bridge. It's less than a full layer one. It's not like a full like Ethereum competitor or something like that, but it's more than just a normal bridge because it's generalized for messaging, which means it can send over assets as well as information. And the way to think about this is kind of like those old-timey switchboard operators for phone companies, where they're kind of plugging all the messages and connecting all the different phone calls. That is what Wormhole is able to do across a bunch of different networks really seamlessly. So if we just look at the problems we went through, you can see how Wormhole starts to solve some of these. The centralization problem. Wormhole is actually the most decentralized of all the bridges. And they have these things called guardians that make that happen. Guardian is just a large crypto player who monitors the core contracts for Wormhole on each of these different chains. Basically, the simple way to think about this is that these guardians are kind of like the border agents that you'd have if you're trying to go between different countries. They're the ones kind of stamping your visa and saying, yes, this is legit, or no, this is not legit.
Are guardians code or institutions, or what are they?
Good question. Guardians are institutions. So it's 19 companies that have been handpicked that are very well known. These are companies like Figment, Jump themselves, and a bunch of others that do it. And the key insight here, these 19 companies are kind of putting up proof of reputation as guardians. Their primary motivation to not do any shady stuff, to be good, honorable border agents, is because if it comes out that they have not been so honorable, their entire business will suffer outside of just the bridge. The second problem with bridges that Wormhole solves, we talked about how transferring assets is good, but kind of basic. Wormhole is actually able to transfer assets and information.
What does information mean?
This is a critical thing, right? So the way to think about it is simple bridge. I have some ETH over here. I want it to be over here. And then once it's over there, I can do a bunch of different things with it. I can take it into a borrow lend protocol. I go put it into a game. I do whatever else, right? But on a normal bridge, you have to do that. Not a great user experience, because then you have to go through and click the buttons and go to the right sites. If you can pass over information, or what are called messages, you can actually automate that whole process. What Wormhole can do is say, transfer ETH from point A to point B, from chain A to chain B, and then convert it into XYZ token, then deposit that into a borrow lend protocol and start to generate yield. all with basically 1 or 2 clicks. The way this happens on a technical level is by these things called relayers. Relayers you can think of kind of like taxi drivers. They are the what actually move, they can move people around, or they can actually move your information. They can just take a suitcase, they can be like a courier or whatever else. They will pay your gas fee on the new network, and then you pay them a little extra on top to make sure that the message gets passed over conveniently. Next problem, and this is the funniest one, I think. Remember how I said bridges are constantly being attacked by hackers? Well, the good news is that Wormhole's already been hacked, right? As we said, for $320 million. And that actually helps some of their security concerns here.
Cash, you know that once you've been hacked, you can be hacked again, right?
I think Wormhole might know that as well, because they tried this new thing that no one else has got called Global Accountant, which they kind of like put out there as a way to solve this. And the basic idea is that, hey, you can never fully get away from getting hacked, right? But what you can do, and what they've done, is implemented this kind of middle layer called the Global Accountant. And the Global Accountant basically reduces the blast radius. So if there is a problem with the near to Avalanche bridge, the most the hacker can take out is going to be roughly the size of what is on near, which is whatever it is. Today, it's like $2 million or something like that. Other bridges, and what happened with Wormhole the first time, is by attacking it once, you accessed all the liquidity everywhere. So now this Global Accountant kind of has these limits on how much can be taken off of the bridge and whatever else that dramatically reduce the blast radius of how bad a hack can be.
It's like sharding, but for hacking.
It's like sharding, but for hacking, yeah.
Shracking.
And then the last thing that I think is pretty cool here is that, like I said, most bridges, building on top of them is kind of hard and lonely, but Wormhole has the most vibrant ecosystem. And what that means is you get more composability, there's more liquidity around it, and honestly, there's just like more tooling, more docs, more helps that you can start to integrate with. Basically, all the cool kids use Wormhole.
So if someone needs to build something and they need to reach out to some folks, they can access some folks in the DAO to help them out?
For sure. And we'll have some support through Wormhole as a part of the X Grant program that they're working with us for Super Team members. Super Team members also going to get additional counseling, mentorship, and all the other good stuff.
I'm going to link Cash in the description on Twitter if anyone needs anything.
So yeah, you can see that like these bridges use Wormhole. Big projects like DeGods and Utes recently left Solana. They used Wormhole to transfer hundreds of millions of dollars of assets. Even Uniswap, they decided to use Wormhole to bridge the BNB chain in a situation that was not without a little bit of controversy.
Wait, what controversy are you talking about?
So basically, these guys, I think there was a vote held with Uniswap, and people were trying to decide which bridge to use, Layer 0 or Wormhole. And there was like a big vote showdown that went down till the last minute. I think A16Z was voting in favor of Layer 0, but a bunch of community members were really voting for Wormhole. So anyway, it was like a big theatrical performance of that is endemic to crypto, because I think governance and sort of your ability to corral other participants and token holders to vote became important. But anyway, eventually I think they won the vote and got the thing implemented. So
feel bad for A16Z, but in general, got it.
I don't think you need to feel bad. Their billions will be fine to wipe away their tears. They're doing okay.
They're going to fund another bridge called Treehole, and it's going to be at a fully diluted valuation of $72 billion. And
for the record, this is misinformation.
This is a joke. Can you please not say any legally questionable stuff on my shit? You wear a beanie, and that's where we draw the line. That's the most illegal stuff you can do. Anyway,
the real question though is like, so Wormhole solves a lot of these problems that other bridges have, but like, why does it matter? Like, why are we even like talking about this right now? The real reason, XDApps, baby. XDApps are something that I think is pretty cool, and then more.
You included baby in the slide. Okay, got it.
I didn't want to forget to say baby. I wanted to be like XDApps, baby. And so it had to be on here. What are XDApps? XDApps are basically any application that is built using Wormhole. And as Dave Burrell says, Wormhole is a way for users to not care about developer choices. He's got this great example he always gives, right? Let's imagine that you wanted to buy something on Amazon. You wanted to buy, a skateboard on Amazon because you got a cool beanie and you want to really look the part, right? And Amazon is built on AWS. And your bank's infrastructure is built on, Azure or Google Cloud or something else. It would be insane for you not to be able to buy the beanie because your bank used a different developer kind of platform or developer infrastructure, right? Wormhole is a way to solve that problem, because in crypto right now, that is the case. If you have money on Ethereum, you cannot actually buy things on Solana very easily. XDApps make the kind of Web3 UX feel like Web2.
I understood all the technical stuff that you just mentioned, by the way.
These podcasts working out. I feel like you're being sarcastic, but you did actually understand it all, is the thing.
Yes, I understood everything.
Anyway, okay, so if you build an XDApp using Wormhole, you get to access more chains, and that means you get to access more users. If you want to actually get more users, going to more chains is a simple way to do it. And this is what we've seen from a bunch of projects. Look at Sweat Economy, Move to Earn Game. They have 120 million users on their Web2 app. Initially, it was built on Near, on the Near blockchain as a NEP141 token. Near, doesn't have the most users, certainly does not have all the users. And so they used Wormhole to bridge over to Ethereum. And now their native token is also ERC20 compatible, which means a bunch of Ethereum people can come on and use it. All the liquidity from Ethereum can now be applied to Sweat Economy. And just their total addressable market has just grown.
I don't have much to say because I do not care about sweating.
What?
You should be a comedian, Tanmay. Have you ever thought of that?
Oh God! The next 10 minutes
I
of
kept
recording.
him up to
I
the
feel
8
done-
a.m. today, so I feel like I'm going to get...
I will wrap your whole family inside a beanie and hold them ransom. You understand?
Wrap tokens are old. Wrapped BDs are the new thing to do. And as I was really learning more about Wormhole, I had to triple and quadruple check because this sounds very cool, and I needed to make sure that it was real, and it is. The basic idea here is that using Wormhole, you can actually use the best part of every chain and then connect your dApp across them. In a literal sense, you might use Solana for execution because it's faster and cheaper, and then you might use Ethereum for settlement and for finality because there's more social consensus there right now. And then you might use a different network for data storage and a different network for X and a different network for Y. You're making a game, maybe part of your game lives on one blockchain that's the fastest, another part lives on one that has a lot more liquidity, and then some assets are held on Ethereum or whatever other chain. For even more exposure. You get composability between blockchains. Normally, when we talk about composability, we mean between dApps on a particular blockchain. Now you get composability across all dApps, across all blockchains, right? Which is a net new thing that hasn't really existed before. This is what Hashflow did, which is very cool, right? So Hashflow is a DEX, it's a decentralized exchange, and it works across multiple chains, Ethereum, BNB, Avalanche, and a bunch of others. And they use Wormhole to use the best parts of different chains for different things. And by using these kind of lower cost chains to actually do the swaps, and then using Ethereum for finality, they get 50% cheaper fees than their competitors have. And having these lower fees is a massive advantage. It's helped them to get to more than $12 billion of volume since August 2021, which is pretty crazy. And then the last thing that's really cool about XDApps is that you get all of these chains with very little pain. Wormhole has spent a lot of time kind of optimizing the developer experience. And the way it works now with their ultralight clients is that you only need to know the language of your kind of execution chain or of the main chain that's happening. So let's say that you have a Solana program and you want to access Ethereum liquidity. Normally, you'd have to know Rust and Solidity, and that's a lot, right? Now, all you need to know is Rust, and then you can just use TypeScript or JavaScript to do all the Solidity kind of base things that you might want. So this makes it really easy for you to go multi-chain without having to learn all the different all the different languages, all the different practices.
All chain, no pain. Wow, sounds like a line that Beanie Akshay would say.
So Mr. Cap Guy is Mr. Macro. Beanie Guy is bad marketing guy? Is that what he is or what?
It's just a bad rapper.
Just
a struggling rapper.
It's a rapper.
Oh my God.
Okay, so it is bad joke guy. That has been solidified here. If you want to go cross-chain, you want to build some XDApps and you don't know what to build, we got you covered. Here are a bunch of ideas. And these ideas are all in service of that X Grant program that Akshay mentioned earlier. These are the 4 types of things that the X Grant program will give you grants for. Building some good tooling. It doesn't have to be building a great startup. Maybe you just make some tooling that makes it easier for people to use Wormhole in some way. Maybe you just integrate Wormhole into your project and you decide to go cross-chain. They will give you a grant to help you go cross-chain. If you have an idea that can only be built cross-chain, they will give you very large grants for that. And even if you just want to do research on what's possible, maybe you're not a developer, but you're a great thinker, or you think about policy, or an analyst type person, that is also going to be part of the grant program here as well.
Yeah, one other cool idea here, the one we discussed on identity, cross-chain identity. Yeah, that's another cool problem to solve, which is imagine using your ENS to log in to access applications, not just on Ethereum, but like Tanmay.eth, but also on Solana. And similarly, use Tanmay.sol to access applications or liquidity on Ethereum, right? That's sort of where the Wormhole as a messaging protocol comes into play. Is that right, Cash?
Correct. Yeah, it can take over the token and then do fun things with the token as well. You can do cool things with Wormhole and USDC. People have USDC on a bunch of different networks. With CCTP and Wormhole, you can actually bridge that over as native USDC, not as wrapped USDC, which is really good. And then find the best yield, right? So you can imagine a product that says, hey, no matter where you have USDC, we will automatically route it to the best APY, risk adjusted, and you can define that, you choose your sliders across any chains, right? And you have this multi-chain aggregator of yield that provides real value for USDC, which I think would be another very fun idea. And then one last idea, and this one's a little bit more specific. This is more like the contribution category than like the moonshot category. Portal is the name of the asset bridge that is powered by the Wormhole protocol. This is a common misunderstanding, right? People think that Wormhole is the asset bridge. It's actually Wormhole is the kind of base protocol that powers both assets and generic messages. And then Portal is just the bridge for assets that people are more familiar with. All due respect to our friends over on that side of the world and people who built Portal, the existing website could use a little bit of work, right? The UX is not necessarily ideal. So I think that there's a real opportunity to rebuild that front end of Portal, make it not only look nicer, but add in some of that functionality, right?
Cash, do you have any idea about how large these grants can be, depending on the idea, of course? Like, how much money are we talking about?
I think that they said that the top grants that they'll give will be for $200,000, which again is equity free. Cool
Yeah,
thing.
but I imagine not like that's going to be for something that's production grade, probably a public good.
Yeah.
The bar
Like,
for that will be
Of course,
should be incredibly high. Yeah. I think people will have a lot more luck with applying for grants that are essentially what we categorize as insta grants or instant grants, which are low fidelity, which say, hey, I have this idea, let me try and build it. If it works, then I'll do a much higher fidelity version of it, or like a much more production grade version of it, and that typically ends up being something between $2,000 to $8,000 to $10,000 in that range. That's probably enough to fund the team to push something out, and then you can sort of make it better if it works.
Cash, where can people check out details about the grants? Is there a website?
Come to superteam.fun/Instagrants and you will see the program that we're running there. It has a bunch of other ideas on there as well. So if these ideas didn't really suit you, you'll find even more there, more description on what you need to do to apply. Applications there take less than 15 minutes, folks. So if you have an idea, now is the time to apply.
Go and talk to the folks. One of the ways this has really worked is when developers directly interact with the folks building the protocol and the team there. So we'll link to Robinson, who runs a lot of the ecosystem efforts. His Twitter below. Follow Robinson and interact with them directly. And we'll also link to Wormhole's Twitter.
All right. So if you're a developer or UI UX artist, a researcher, there are a bunch of different things that you can do to get this grant. It's a fun side hustle. It's an opportunity to make your time productive and earn while you're doing it. Check out the links in the description for more details. And of course, you can always hit up Cash on Twitter. And none of you would want to hit up Akshay because of the beanie. That's also understandable. And of course, for any technical information, I am your go-to guy because I am technical Guruji. On that note, see you guys.
I'm starting my own YouTube channel, by the way. So follow, subscribe, comment.
It's going to be dedicated to fashion. It's a fashion YouTube channel. Learn how to wear beanies. That's all.
YouTube.com/beaniebitch. Check it out. See you next time.